Welcome everyone to today's workshop on scholarships available at Graduate Institute Geneva. So I'll quickly introduce you to Project EduAccess and to today's panelists, who will then take over and talk to you about the eligibility, the different application documents required for your application to the scholarships. At Graduate Institute, they'll talk to you in detail about the personal statement or motivation letter that you're supposed to draft. They'll talk to you in detail also about the financial aid letter, and then they will talk to you about the other scholarships that are available that you can otherwise look at in more detail, and then give you some general tips about your application. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time, we are Project EduAccess. We believe that access to higher education, leadership, and professional opportunities is a privilege that most people from marginalized communities are systematically denied through cost, information, and dispositional barriers. And so we try to improve inclusivity in these spaces by removing some of these barriers for marginalized communities. We do this by providing mentorship, engaging in advocacy, and also running online and in-person capacity building workshops. Today's session is a part of our series of sessions on scholarship opportunities to pursue your higher education abroad. And we're very happy to have with us two wonderful panelists who are with us at Project EduAccess. We have with us Nametta, who is doing a master's in international development studies at the Graduate Institute Geneva, and is a Hans Wilsdorf Foundation scholar. And we have with us Varnika, who's also doing the Master's in International Development Studies at the Graduate Institute. Thank you so much, Namita and Varnika, for joining us and speaking to everybody about the different scholarship opportunities. I will now hand it over to the two of you.
Sure. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. Just to introduce my background a little more, I am Nametta, doing a master's in interdisciplinary studies, which is international development studies at the Geneva Graduate Institute. I did my bachelor's in economics from St. Xavier's College, Bombay, and worked in economic research for a while before coming for my master's. And I'm specializing in sustainable trade and finance here. Now over to Varnika.
Hello, thank you for your kind introduction. So I'm Varnika. A brief introduction about me. I did my bachelor's in computer science engineering from VIT Vellore. Then I did my master's in social work from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. I worked for a while as a social worker in mental health space. And then right now I'm doing my master's in international development studies at Graduate Institute Geneva, and I'm specializing in global health. My area of interest are like disability inclusion, health, social determinants of health in general, and gender and other areas. So I would like to introduce briefly this program before we start our presentation. So international development studies, this interdisciplinary course basically is divided into multiple tracks, which has multiple areas of specialization: gender, race, and diversity. Namita is in sustainable trade and finance. I am in global health. And interdisciplinary means that you can view this topic, this track from a very from a multiple lens. For example, I look at it through anthropological lens, sociological lens, or a diplomacy lens, or a public policy lens. And at the same time, you can delve into different research methods. So it is quite, you can take up courses from different backgrounds, which fit into your area of interest. Thank you. Over to you, Namita.
Perfect. So as Varnika mentioned, it's an interdisciplinary program, and there's the application, the holistic general application for the MINT program, which we are in, or maybe the international economics program, the anthropology program, or history program. So there is quite a lot of tracks, and as part of that, you have to apply for the financial aid, which is together with your college application, basically. So in terms of, next slide, yeah. So in terms of eligibility, everyone is eligible as long as they say that they do need the financial aid in their generic college application. and the scholarship or the financial aid is divided into three, if I'm not wrong, three. Next slide. So it is divided into three. The first one is full scholarship, which is going to be 20,000 CHF plus tuition per year. So this 20,000 CHF is only for your living expense, your rent, your accommodation, possibly even travel expenses, which can be dispersed in 10 months or 12 months. If you take in 10 months, you get 2,000 francs per month plus a full tuition reduction. So this 2,000 is good enough to live in Geneva comfortably. So it covers your rent, it covers almost all the expenses that you have. Partial scholarships is 10,000 francs, which you can again decide if you want to take it as 10 months or 12 months. So the other part, which is the around another 10,000 CHF, will have to be covered by you through other scholarships or personal means or whatever you decide. And then there is a fee reduction, which is going to be a tuition waiver of, I think the tuition is around 7,000 francs or 8,000 francs, and this entire tuition will be paid, but you still have to manage your living expense in Geneva. And in Geneva, according to the estimates of the institute, you need around 20,000 CHF to get through a year, which can be less, which can be more, depending on where you find accommodation, how much you spend in Geneva, etc. But just to make it clear, even though you get full financial aid, which I am on, which is full scholarship, which is around 27,000 francs per year, you still have to pay 1,000 francs as a pre-registration fee to the IHEID Solidarity Fund, so that that fund is taken again, so that more scholarships are dispersed to students in the upcoming years. Next slide. Varnika, go.
Hi, so I would be briefly explaining the application documents. So firstly, you need transcript of grades for your relevant master's and undergraduate degree. By that, I also mean you need your semester-wise breakup of transcripts. Then you need your CV showcasing previous work experience and publications. You need a cover letter explaining why your candidature is the best fit for that project. This one I would be covering in a more comprehensive way later. Letter of recommendation or 2 contact references. So letter of recommendations for IHEID Graduate Institute, it's recommended that you take from your previous professors or some academic supervisors, because that adds more to your application. While it's appreciated that yes, you can get it from some professional, from one of your supervisors in professional journey, but still it would be appreciated if it's more from the academic side. Certificate of language proficiency if required by the particular discipline. So so for some programs, there is a certificate of language proficiency, for example, IELTS and or other language proficiency tests that might be needed. But I remember for my particular application, I was able to say that I had English as a language medium in my previous degrees, and I was waived of it. So it depends. Then you also need the following documents: income statement of you or your parents, financial aid statement showcasing your achievements, and also you need to really substantiate it with why they should give you the scholarship.
Just to add 2 more points to this, the letter of recommendation, though it is recommended that you have 2 professors or academic supervisors, there is a option of adding a 3rd letter of reference, which can be from your work supervisor. If you have done an internship or if you have like worked part-time at a certain research think tank, then definitely we do recommend giving it. And the next one, which is income statement, it can be income tax returns, which is filed by your parents or yourself in the previous years. I think you have to show it for 2 years, if I'm not 2 financial years.
Yeah.
That's it.
Next slide, please. Yes, so personal statement, which is a big one, and it's mostly one of the most important statements, most important document for your admission, because they first go through your personal statement. In case your grades of the previous university are not that good, but they see that there's something, your personal statement plays a very big role. After talking to a lot of professors at IHEID, that's what I've observed. So introduction, you can start your personal statement with a brief narrative highlighting your motivation for choosing this program, linked to a key experience or interest. And one thing before delving into this personal statement, I want to highlight, this is a rough template. A lot of us might come with some personal stories which are really linked to our professional goals, and it is very tactful. If we can disclose that tactfully, this is something which I would advise, because this is something which I had done with my cover letter. So, for example, for my transition from my computer science engineering to social work, there were some personal experiences involved. I mentioned them, but I also mentioned that how professionally then I transitioned to social work. I worked as a mental health social worker for a while. So this is a key, like a personal recommendation I would give. Background and experience. So you summarize key takeaways from your undergraduate study and any relevant work or project experience. And one thing which I have observed is often while we are mentioning a personal statement, it should be different from a CV. In CV, we often say that, okay, we did this as a research associate, we did this in internship. They already know that in your CV. So in personal statement, you have to explain that how this background and experience actually substantiates to your motivation. Why are you applying for this program? What did you learn at what were your few key takeaways? So how did it add to your personal story or professional story, which contributes to the bigger picture? Why this school or program? Mention specific aspects of the school or program, such as electives, professors, or resources that align with your interests. Address how the program and its location are suited to overcome your weakness and fulfill your aspirations. So it's very important to keep this balance in your personal statement, that you are able to also pinpoint that why you want particularly this school, what is so special about Graduate Institute. For example, it's located in Geneva. Geneva happens to be a house of multiple international organizations. If this is something which you're really passionate about, there are multiple. For example, I am currently working in a humanitarian aid section, so you can. When I wrote my application, I had tailored around that I really want to work in mental health. I want to work. And mental health is an important aspect of providing humanitarian aid, something around that I had written. So you should link to how this program would suit into your career journey, and also how it suits with your past experiences. Future goals. Describe your career objectives post graduation and how the program would enable you to achieve these goals. So as I described, it's you can link up these factors. Conclusion, recap your key strengths and motivations, emphasize your potential contributions to the student body and your future role as an alumnus. So you can also, again, in the conclusion, reiterate that how your personal professional experiences, the strength this course, this institute adds to your professional journey, and then how this can also be really beneficial for the institute. And you can also maybe emphasize your potential contributions to the student body. For example, I have personally worked a bit in disability inclusion at the institute, and you can mention that you want to create an inclusive space at student body or something like that. Yeah. Next slide, please. Nametta, if you want to add something.
Sure. Just one thing that I keep telling people, and something that someone told me while I was writing my SOP, is also the fact that SOP is a statement of the present and the future rather than of the past. So you do not, I mean, like Varnika already mentioned, your resume, they already have your resume, they already have what your achievements are, what your internship experiences are. So now we need to explain how those experiences connect to this certain program, and why, how this certain program is going to help you like achieve your vision for yourself in the future. So this can be done in ways, for example, if I did an internship, my research area is feminist economics. So I did a research internship under one of the economists in India. And then I was trying to connect that to certain courses and how I can deepen my understanding in the subject through this specific course. So it can be something like gender and development by this certain professor is going to help me achieve this. So this kind of like showcases how you have gone through the material of like how the curriculum is, who are the professors there, what you can possibly get out of this program. So I think that is going to be beneficial. And also maybe add a paragraph about your, like I mentioned, like a glimpse of your vision for yourself in the future. Like Varnika mentioned, she's working with IOM right now, so she wanted to work in the humanitarian space. That is what she wanted to do when she came to Geneva. I wanted to work with development banks, so that is how this certain institute studying here is going to help me get to the development bank space. If there is any professors who specifically work in the research area or research interest of mine, and how I can, have like a connection with them, like network with them, maybe even like, get advice on how I can redefine my career path. So maybe you can mention all of this. And at the end, I have always tried to, or people used to tell me when I used to ask for help with SOPs, is that maybe you can also mention about why Geneva, or if you're applying to like a college in London, why London? Like the place the college is situated in is also playing like a role in your, decision to go there, or that might play. And why do you want to be in London or Geneva? So you can also mention that. It's going to be helpful to showcase your interest. Next slide.
Oh, I just want
Varnika, do you want? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So this is something which I have had a discussion with multiple professors at the institute. It's that which I think might be relevant for this presentation is in your personal statement. If like, since your grades play some role into the decision, and we know that, and also the institute knows that during COVID or during some hard times which we faced, some people might have struggled with grades for very valid reasons. And if that is the case, then this is something which you can mention in your personal statement, and then showcase that how you eventually progressed and how you persevered or something around that, and how because this would offer a bit of background story if there is some issue with grades or anything. And this is something which a lot of universities are trying to understand, to see things in a more holistic picture. And often mentioning that in a more empowering way gives the universities to see you more holistically and in a better frame and understand things better. So I just wanted to mention that here.
Absolutely. Next slide. Now coming to the financial aid letter, when I was applying for scholarships, I struggled quite a lot, to be honest with this, because I was not really sure what am I supposed to write in it. Is it supposed to be different from your statement of purpose? How do you like place yourself in saying that you need a scholarship? So some of the key pointers that I took away from like multiple financial aid letters that I had to write is, it helps to explain why receiving financial aid is crucial for your journey. So this can be anything like your financial struggles or emotional struggles, or any significant factors supporting a request for aid, basically. So mention all of that. Varnika will dive in a little deeper into how you can possibly do this. The second one is showcasing your achievements to demonstrate your potential for success. So this is the approach that I took for my financial aid, which is I mentioned like, oh, anytime anybody has like invested in me, I have always had returns, or I've always like excelled at that point. So you can showcase it with very minimal examples, like, okay, I was a prefect of my school in high school, and when I got there, I excelled in academics. Because of that responsibilities that was given to me, I had to rise to the occasion. I had to make sure that when someone is investing in me, or investing time or money or anything in me, I had to make sure that I was making the best optimal use of that resource that was given to me. So it can be in terms of, if you're an undergrad and you're working in, like, you start a certain initiative, like you start an economics journal there, and then you can talk about how your teachers invested in you, and then you made sure that this journal came out very well. So it can be even very small things that shows your potential for success. And the third thing is going to be detail your career objectives and how this master's program aligns with this goal. So it can be anything like, I want to go back to India and work in this certain community, or there is a certain place or there is a certain organization that I want to contribute to. So all of this can be identified, and you have to link all of this. And while writing your financial aid document, something you have to keep in mind is the financial aid committee might not have access to your statement of purpose or your resume. So you still have to give a small summary of what you have achieved in the past, how you are like a great candidate because you have potential for success, and what you hope to achieve or your vision for yourself in the future, and how investing in you possibly means that you'll help someone, or you'll possibly like do better things. So basically just make a case for yourself into why you are like the good investment for them, is the approach that I took. Varnika, do you want to dive a little more into that?
Yeah. So on the first note, it's important, if there are some personal circumstances, it's important to mention that in financial aid letter. And often I understand that we feel very restricted when we are professionally or academically writing such letters, where we feel that, okay, this is an important part of ourselves if we belong to a minority community, or we have financial struggles, or we have gone through emotional difficult times. But understand that it's important to your financial aid document as well. Some part of it is also relevant to your statement of purpose. So we need to mention it a bit tactfully, so that we present ourselves as a holistic candidate, and also while emphasizing that we really need financial aid to come to the institute, because we don't have the same privileges, we don't have the equal economic opportunities, resources. So for example, if you belong to a minority group, or you belong to the queer community, this is an important thing which you can highlight in your financial aid letter, because universities and institutes know that being from underrepresented groups or marginalized groups also has a link with your economic resources. And you can cover these challenges in brief, or if you want to expand a bit on it, and then go on to the things which are mentioned by Nametta, leadership roles, academic honors. And again, this part of your personal journey doesn't make your letter any less, or sometimes we are afraid of vulnerability. No, it just enhances it and makes you see as a more holistic candidate. The thing is, how do we do it tactfully? It depends on case by case. This is one thing we should be careful about. So I just wanted to say that.
Also wanted to mention that at the institute, the financial aid is given out based on need as well as merit. So it is not just merit, it is also based on need. That's the reason why they ask you to submit your income tax statements or any supporting statement. So you might not even have an income tax statement, ITR returns to show, and you can just email them and tell them you don't have it, but you can possibly have like a salary slip or any kind of income statement, and they will accept that. They're also very inclusive. They want you to apply, want you to get the financial aid. There's quite a lot of financial aid available at the institute for people. And even at the institute, even through your studies, if there is a certain amount of like financial emergency that you face, there is a provision for you to apply for financial aid at that point and get like a fee reduction. I think, Varnika, do you want to expand a little more on any of the points that I mentioned, please?
Yeah, especially with the part of fee reduction. This is something which I had applied for. So if for some personal reasons I also missed the scholarship letter, the document, and I don't need to dive into it, but there was a financial emergency, and they open up a space to get that emergency financial aid every semester. And I had applied for it, and again they asked for a financial aid letter, and in that letter I was quite honest about what is my need to get this aid. And this mentioned things related to emotional challenges, or any kind of identity I have, and this really substantiated my case. They offered a fee reduction, so this is also a possibility you might consider. And also, I also mentioned the fact that the cost of living in Geneva is a bit higher, so this is also an important point to consider.
Yeah, so possibly the fee is going to be around 8,000 francs, while the living expense in Geneva is going to be around 20,000 francs per year. So there is, it's going to be like more than double the fee that you're going to be paying at the institute. Something else that I want to mention is, even though there is like multiple scholarships available in Swiss universities, like I am part of the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation, then there is a Ferris Foundation scholarship. There is multiple scholarships that's available, but at the graduate institute, how it works is that first you apply for the financial aid of the graduate institute, and then they take up people from the generic application pool in terms of who gets partial financial aid, who gets full financial aid, and then they disperse these scholarships to different foundations. So they will be making your applications to these foundations rather than you directly applying and getting a scholarship. But it is also possible to directly apply and get scholarships in Geneva. It's just that you might not, like, during the time of the application, you couldn't like put your best foot forward, so you didn't get financial aid. That's totally fine. You can still apply on your own and get scholarships. There's multiple opportunities available, which we'll be diving into a little deeper. I think we got a question. Can I submit bank balance statement of mine to showcase the need for financial aid? Yes, you can. You just need to send an email to admissions, and they will link you to the financial aid, which is the accounting department at the institute. And then they'll ask you, yes, you can submit your financial bank statements in general for financial need. Next slide. Now coming to the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation scholarship. So this in Geneva, before I dive into like the technicalities of scholarships here, we in Switzerland, we are on a permit. So it's like a residence permit that you get. And most of these scholarships in Geneva have a criteria that you need to have a residence permit before you can apply. So because of that, some scholarships that's mentioned here, you can apply only after 1 year of studying in Geneva, and you have around, you have the residence permit in your hand. So it might be difficult for some scholarships to get the scholarships and then come from India. So this is a caveat that you have to consider before looking at the institute and these scholarships in general. So one of those scholarships is the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation scholarship. But if you get it through the institute, then you don't need this residence permit while applying for the scholarship. But if you're applying from outside, you do need the residence permit. And they ask all the documents such as cover letter, financial aid letter, your income tax statements, acceptance into a Swiss university, because this is only Hans Wilsdorf Foundation scholarship is only for the canton of Geneva. So there is only colleges in Geneva. So if you're going to Graduate Institute of the University of Geneva or the Geneva School of Diplomacy, then you're eligible. But otherwise, if you're in possibly like Zurich or Bern or Lausanne, you might not be eligible. So they ask you residence permit, your registration letter, your acceptance into this university, recommendation letters, all of that documents, the same as the one in Graduate Institute, but it might be a little more trickier to apply through the website because they need a residence permit if you're applying from India. But I do encourage to email them and ask, because these people are very responsive through email. So you can shoot them an email, and then they might tell you, okay, even though you're from India, we might can possibly make like a bypass of the rules or any of that. So that is something you have to consider. The link is provided here, so you can go into it, you can read up about it, you can see how it works with the documents required, and see if it fits with your area of interest and if you want to study in Geneva too. Next slide. This one is affiliated with the Graduate Institute, which is for Afghan women to come and study at the institute. They have a specific scholarship on their own in memory of Maria Rosario. So this is also something you have to apply through the institute, but this is a different application from the institute financial aid. So you just have to say that you're applying for this certain scholarship because you come from Afghanistan and you need the scholarship. Next. So this is a Swiss Government Excellence Scholarship. This is for PhD students as well as master students. And if you're like an undergraduate student who wants to come for research in Switzerland institutions, that is also possible for this scholarship. So what the procedure of the scholarship is, they release the programs that is available in Swiss universities in early August. So the deadline is only coming up. And then in September, the application starts. So here again, you have to submit you have to prove that you're a national of another country rather than Switzerland, what your research area of interest is, which university do you want to research in, all of that. And then you have to apply from around September to December, depending on the deadline. And the selection happens at the end of May, and you come in around May end, or I think April start June, around that time you end up in Switzerland, and you get to like research based on the entirely funded scholarship. So PhD students, both postdoc, PhD, pre-doc, and graduate students have this option. So do check it out. The details are attached to the link. Next slide. This one is a research grant as the same as before, but for the students of history. So you have to submit all of these documents, and applications should be sent to this certain email ID. If you do a normal Google search on this research grant, all the details are available. This is something that you can definitely check out if you are in the field of history and you really want to do research in it. It is a great opportunity. Next. So some other scholarships, there's quite a lot of scholarships available in Geneva. There is other scholarships such as the Ferris Foundation Scholarship, there's the Bakala Foundation Scholarship, the Tokyo Foundation Scholarship. So these are all scholarships available if you're studying in a Swiss university. So this means that it can be ETH Zurich, it can be University of Bern, it can be University of Geneva, it can be the Geneva Graduate Institute, it can be any of these. One specific advantage that the Geneva universities have is there is quite a lot of international organizations and as well as foundations and NGOs that are here. And most of these NGOs fund students to come from abroad to study in Geneva specifically. So if you, I was only able to like get a few scholarships out here, but if you Google search and if you like get in touch with certain foundations, you'll still be able to get partial funding or maybe tuition fee reduction or partial living expense allowance or any of that if you really talk to them and talk about like why you need financial aid, why you need a scholarship, why it's important. If you make a case for yourself, it's definitely possible. Varnika, is there anything that you would like to cover?
No, thank you.
I guess that is it. Questions?
Yes, I think we have we already have one question in chat. So I can read it out. So it says, I submitted an application for the MINT program, and while filling the application, I've submitted the financial aid application. My query is, do I need to apply for the program separately or apply to the scholarship only?
So here, are you referring to possibly like the scholarships that we mentioned, you have to apply separately, or if the financial aid application of the institute is enough, right? Yes. Okay. So then if you had already applied for the financial aid through the institute, you do not need to apply for these separately because the financial aid, if you get accepted to the institute with financial aid, they will be allotting you to one of these scholarships later on, right before you come in around August. But if you get rejected from the financial aid, you're not successful in getting financial aid, you can apply separately for these scholarships. Can you please put the Hans Wilsdorf Scholarship link in the chat? Should I do that? Give me a second.
Yeah, I can send a link for that and other resources. Okay. That's easier. And we can take, so the question, when are the deadlines for applying to graduate institution and the graduate?
There are two deadlines to apply for the graduate institute. The first deadline got done in around like mid-Jan, but there is another deadline, which is the late application deadline, which is going to be, I think, March 2nd week, right, Varnika?
Yeah, I'm not sure about this. I just need to double check. Probably it would be better if you apply in so there are three deadlines, early bird and two other. and it's better for scholarship to apply in first 2 deadlines. And I have put a link on the chat. You can check it out to know more.
Perfect. Another question we have is, what are the pros and cons of studying in Switzerland? Varnika, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry for the diplomatic answer. It depends. But I can answer it a bit more holistically. So, first going on pros, because that seems better. Pros of studying in Switzerland is that it's a more international space. You would have people here from different places, nationality. You would have exposure to a lot of issues coming up. There are a lot of international organizations here. There are a lot of foundations here, NGOs here, big presence. Most of the international organizations have like big presence, a lot of headquarters. That's a good thing. You might come here with a vision that, oh, I am going to work in this specific field, but you come here and you can discover, oh, I never thought of it, but my skills, my whatever would be a good fit here. So that is and a lot of exposure to very different topics you might not have had before, and you might just intuitively have interest in that. um Cons, are the living expenses. Geneva happens to be a very expensive place. We sometimes go buy groceries next door from France. It's that expensive, so that is one of the cons, I would say, studying in Switzerland. Yeah, and sometimes navigating this whole international organization space can be harder for students. So it requires a lot of tactfulness, and it's hit and miss again and again. So that would be one of the cons. The predictability of job market, as anywhere in the world, is I think more so in Geneva, is like hard. But yeah.
My take on this would be, in terms of pros, you are in the heart of international Geneva, which is very, very true, because the UN headquarters, the main UN headquarters, is like 5 minutes walking distance from the institute, the graduate institute. So both of us sitting in our residence can possibly look at the UN if we go into the balcony that we have. So that is one thing. So this also means that you have access to like a lot of talks, conferences that the UN hosts. So you can just walk in anytime if you are interested in like statistics for SDGs or gender-based violence themes. So anything, anywhere it's accessible just because you're in Geneva. You also get experience interning with international organizations here, because since you're in Geneva, they prefer to take you because it's easier for you to be here and intern rather than getting someone from possibly another country to move to Geneva and then intern. That is one thing. But the caveat of those internships is that most of the time it might not be paid, or it might be paid very, very little money, which might not even cover your living expense in Geneva. That is one thing. Another pro is that Graduate Institute is in good terms with all these international organizations, which means that the staff of those international organizations, as well as the programs that is hosted by these international organizations, happens at the Graduate Institute, which means that, again, you have access to it anytime. You can walk into college and you're like, oh, I didn't know there was an event here today by this person. That's cool. I can just walk in. So these are all things that you can do. There is also quite a lot of professors here who are in good relationship with the UN, or are past staff or directors and good level position people of the UN system. So that means that, again, you have good access to the UN systems as well. But this does not offer you, or this does not mandatorily offer you a job opportunity, because things in general are a little difficult. Something else is that there is the ARP, which is the Applied Research Project of the Graduate Institute. This applied research project, because these international organizations are nearby, are all coming from international organizations. So you can have like a project in terms of like working with these organizations, what their requirements are, get like a better understanding of all of it. So these are the pros that I have of Geneva. And in terms of cons, I would say Geneva is really expensive, like Varnika mentioned. figuring out the bureaucracy here is also a little difficult because it's step by step. Everything is very complicated. French is also the working language. It's not English. Something else is the Swiss labor laws are not very pro non-Europeans. So this means that you cannot possibly, I mean, it's difficult. I wouldn't say not. It's difficult to get a job in the private sector because it means that they have to go through the government quite a lot, which they don't want to do because it's a lot of expense for them. So you're only, I wouldn't say only, the possibility of getting like a contract with the international organizations is higher than getting a contract with the private sector, which means that you are narrowing down your stream of opportunities or jobs or potential vacancies in general. And even in the UN system, it's difficult to navigate through it because you will have to your position in Switzerland after your education or graduation in general is very fragile, because within the UN system, there's a lot of budget cuts that happens left, right, and center. Because of that, you might be working as a consultant, and then you understand that like your contract is ending in like a month, and they're not renewing the contract, which means that you have to compulsory go back to your country of like residence or status or whatever. And internships so it's a little difficult to like navigate the job market situation here. So you need to buckle up for that. If you're coming to Geneva, it's going to be like anxiety in terms of what your future is. Are you going to get a job? And the stay back is also limited, which means that right now, both of us, anybody who studies in Geneva as a non-European is on a B permit. And after the B permit, you have to apply for an L permit, which only gives you 6 months of stay back in Geneva because you studied here. So in those 6 months, if you're not able to get a job, you will be forced to go back to India or whichever country. We are both from India, so we have to go back to India or any other country which you are from. So these are all the caveats that you have. So in those 6 months, you find a job, then you get to stay. Otherwise, you have to go back. So it's very flimsy. Yeah. Varnika, do you have to add?
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you, Davita. You actually described it more openly. I'm interning at one of the UN organizations. I really like my work, but it's always a path of anxiety at UN organizations, as well as it's obviously a very good opportunity. You get to learn more, you get to see things from a very different angle, which I never did, which it's limited in India, because here when we are working, we are talking about multiple contexts, very complex emergencies, very complex environments, some people working in different countries, and the HQ is coordinating some things. So all of that is there, but at the same time, it's the whole contract thing is difficult to navigate, as well as I would like to add, Geneva has a really good minimum wage, 25 francs, 26 francs something per hour. But because international organizations are here, they are somewhere out of some jurisdiction, so they don't have to pay that minimum wage. So that a bit of caveat is there. Happy to discuss this more personally if you all want to.
Yeah, so it's a little rocky path is what we're trying to tell you. Another question is, does the job market offer graduate students in development studies to find a job after post-study? So getting a job here, I'm not saying it's undoable. It's not impossible basically, but it is difficult. So it depends on your luck quite a lot, as well as your skills, but luck also plays. You have to be at the right place at the right time. There is a lot of networking that needs to be done in terms of all the international organizations here work on networking basis. So you might not even be aware that a role is opening and that would have been filled, or that role is already, possibly for a consultant, but there is a role that you have to post it publicly. So you might be applying for jobs that's basically filled already. So all of this are the caveats, but the MINT program, after you get a master's, there is there is some kind of skill upgradation. So you will get a job, definitely, maybe also a salary hike from your, before your master's situation. But I am not sure if that will be in Switzerland, in Geneva, or back in India, or possibly London. London is also a place that these international, because the labor laws are very stringent. What happens is if you get a job with a private sector organization like Dalberg, when Dalberg comes here, which is a social impact consulting firm, they tell you they cannot sponsor your visa in Geneva, but if you're like, get through the interview process and all of that, we'll get you like a position and a visa sponsorship in London rather than Geneva. So with that, I think that kind of like, and they're very open about it when you talk to them. So that kind of like sums up the labor laws in Switzerland.
Yeah, about one thing I just wanted to add here is about job search here. So the Graduate Institute, they have a dedicated career services where you can there are some career advisors who have some of them also have had a good work experience in different sectors, so you can reach out to them. Sometimes they can advise you more openly. They also have a newsletter where they update some internships and early career opportunities for students. That being said, everybody comes from a very different background with very different skill sets. Some people here have done their masters in political science or something, MA in political science. I come from a very different background. People come from different nationalities. So there's no one size fit approach. People try very different things, and luck is a big thing, as Nametta said. So it's mix of a lot of things. We are still trying to figure out, I guess.
We are still trying to figure out. We're on your last semester now. So we have heard like a lot of very successful stories, someone getting like a staff contract at the UN. And there are also stories of people being forced to go back home after their L permit expires. So I'm not saying this place is like, if you come, you're doomed. That's not the image I'm trying to give. It depends a lot on how you do, what your personal interests are, where you fit in, what experiences you bring to the table. It depends on all of that. Another question we have is just how do you find accommodation and funding staying there? Accommodation, we have student residences here, which is two. One is Picciotto and the other one is Grand Merillion. So both of this is owned by the Graduate Institute, which means that you can directly apply to these residences. If you're both of these residences are like super close to the institute. Picciotto specifically, where me and Varnika stay, is like 200 meters away from the institute. So we just have to like walk a bridge and we're at the institute. While Grand Merillion is a little further away, you have to take a bus and then a tram or just a bus if you're walking, just a bus to get to the institute. I have heard from people, I have not looked for accommodation outside. I've heard from people it's a little more difficult to get accommodation outside these student residences in Geneva because of like, you have to show your salary slip. You have to have 3 times your rent in your account. There is quite a lot of like bureaucracy there as well. So it's a little more difficult. But other than these 2 residences, there is residences by the University of Geneva, which is cheaper than the ones by Graduate Institute. So to go into specifics, I pay 900, which is like a room and a private bathroom. While in Sitte, which is like 40 minutes away, if I'm not wrong, 40 minutes away, it's going to be around 600 to 650. So there is quite a lot of difference in per month rent itself, but depends on what you can afford, where you want to be in the city, all of that when you look at these decisions.
Yeah,
Varnika, do you have to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to the same point. A lot of people I have seen, they also live in different residences. If you get admitted to HEID, you would get, as Nametta said, preference of like you can quickly apply to these 2 student residences. But if you want to consider outside, you go to UNIGE, which is the other university here, as Nametta suggested. And I've seen rent sometimes going there as low as 500 francs. The only caveat is that it's a bit far away, and navigating that space can be a bit harder depending on your context. Are there any interviews conducted after your no interviews?
No, there is not. So this is like one of the unique places where you get financial aid based on your income statement and the financial aid letter that you're writing. So how it happens is that when you get your admission letter or your confirmation of admission, if you got in or not, they will also give you the financial aid result along with that. So as soon as you're admitted to the program, you know if you got financial aid or not. It doesn't happen like 5 months later or 3 months later. That's not how it works with the institute. I think that is it. Does anyone have any more questions? I think that is it. Yeah.
While we wait, if more questions come up, I just want to quickly tell you about the links that I sent in chat. So the first three are about the scholarships that were discussed in the session. So the link to the Swiss Government Excellence Scholarship, the link to the Hans Wilsdorf Scholarship, and the third is the email ID for the Pierre Dubois Research Grant. So you can just access these links and get more information. We will upload a recording of this workshop on our YouTube channel, and the link is also in chat. We've also conducted a number of other sessions on scholarship opportunities that you can find in on our YouTube channel. We also developed application guides on writing a CV, writing a personal statement, your statement of purpose, that you can find on our website, and I've put a link to that as well. If you're not a mentee with us, then you can reach out to us at info@projecteduaccess.com if you have any questions. And I see that 3 more questions have come up in the meantime.
Just give me a second. I'm putting up the link for the CITE residence, so you can just get into the website. It was called CITE by University of Geneva. So you can get into their website and apply for a short-term guest, or you just have to show that you have got into the Geneva Graduate Institute or any other Swiss university, as a matter of fact, and then you can apply for the residence. And I think you get to know if you got selected in 2 months or 1 month. But I have a feeling they might have an interview, is what I've heard. Like an online interview just to like get to know you better is something I've heard. I'm not really sure. So you need to like check that out.
Okay, I have actually dropped in my email ID. You can email me. It's fine with me. I would especially anything related to global health or gender or any cross-cutting issues, please reach out.
I can my email as well. Do you want to take up the question on
which one? Detail for scholarship?
Detail for scholarships, yes. Is there any?
I mean, we did sort of cover these scholarships in the workshop, I think.
Workshop, yeah.
Slightly late. So if you have a look at the recording of the workshop, you'll get a sense of the scholarships that are available and what the application for these scholarships looks like. So yeah, we sort of discussed that in the presentation.
But you guys can, I have also put out my email ID in the chat. So in case you guys have any questions, feel free to email. I can help in any way that I possibly can, even after you get your admits to the Graduate Institute, because it's a little difficult to figure out the process of coming to Switzerland, finding accommodation. How do you navigate the visa? How do you navigate the residence permit? So it's a little tricky. So feel free to email. I can, me and Varnika can help any way that we can.
Yeah, for sure. Please feel free. And in itself, I would say navigating any space outside the country can be hard, especially Switzerland. The language is different. We both don't know French. Still struggling a bit with that. So we understand. And also the professional journey. So if you even get in and you get the aid and you just want to chat with someone, frankly, you can just email us. Thank you.
That's really kind, Varnika and Nametta. So thank you so much to the two of you for joining the workshop, for giving the presentation and being so patient with the questions. And thank you everyone who joined us today. As I said, you'll find a recording of this workshop on our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions, then you can send us an email on... okay, there's one final question.
So that's a very, very interesting question. MINT is an interdisciplinary, it's an interdisciplinary. So basically MINT is what you make of it. So everyone's experience in MINT is going to be extremely different. you can choose any course that you want from like the entire curriculum of Mint. There is going to be like 50 to 60 courses. You can choose anything that you want and study. So everything is what you make of it. International economics has a set curriculum. So you are going to have like a class system where you're a cohort, and then you as a cohort has like classes in it. While Mint, it's going to be different people with you in different times. In terms of job opportunities, also it is very different. Graduate Institute does not offer jobs. Just clarify that they do not condition or like mandatorily promise any jobs. But if you, the probability of someone getting a job here is all the same based on like what your experiences are. You might be coming from international econ but into research, so your place might be somewhere else. So it all depends on what you make of it, is what I have noticed. I come from an econ background, so Mint has been very different to me from what Mint has been to Varnika. So all of it depends. Varnika, do you want to take it up a little further, or?
Yeah. So I posted a link of the Mint program. I would really recommend that you see a bit of course structure to understand it better. For example, we have some special like compulsory courses, and then we can also diversify a lot. We can diversify. Yeah. So for example, I'm in global health, but I took some courses on migration. I took some courses related to gender, because of course migration and health are important. When merged together, they also form a discipline. Gender and health are also, they've also form a discipline. So in this way you can diversify, you can get to know new things. And while somebody studying health can itself, they themselves can take a totally different part. Somebody I know, they might be really into health diplomacy, and that's what they are looking at, while I might be more looking at things like intersection of gender, health, intersection of migration issues, health, refugees and health. So that's what we are trying to say. It can be really different. And please, you can see the link I just posted here. Yeah.
Great. With that, I'm going to end the session now since we are slightly over time. And if there are any other questions, I'd recommend that you send us an email. William, you're a mentee with us, so just send an email to the operations team. Both Varnika and Nametta can be reached through that, and you also have their email IDs. And yeah, that's it, I think. Thank you so much once again to the two of you for joining us and for taking the time out and speaking to everybody about your experience so candidly. And yeah, thank you everyone who joined us, and all the best with your applications.
All the best, everyone. Thank you.